Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today you're in for a new video with 5 different things that you probably didn't know about Alan Ladd. If it's your first time watching one of my videos in this channel, we aim to discuss and discover more things about old Hollywood and classic films, which is a topic that I absolutely love, and I'm more than happy to share everything I learned here on these videos. So I hope you enjoy it. Let's dive into it. So about Alan Ladd, I believe he's probably best remembered by his iconic performance in Shane, which is one of my absolute favorite films. I know that I probably say this in every video with every film, but that's the thing. Going back to the subject, he's probably, yes, best remembered also for his noir films with Veronica Lake, and they went on to become one of the most iconic noir couples in the 40s, and those two different genres are probably the ones that Alan Ladd is best known for. He was an actor that, perhaps small in stature, he achieved, I think, colossal proportions because of those performances on the screen, and he was one of the most popular actors in the 50s. So in this video, we'll go over 5 different things that are perhaps not as well known about him and that hopefully will help put his importance in film history in even more relevance, especially if you like classic films, if you enjoy Hollywood classic films. And I believe it will be really fun to go over a couple of facts because they will be linked with some contemporary films. So again, I hope you enjoyed this video, and now officially, without any further ado, let's go into the 5 different things that you probably didn't know about Alan Ladd. The first one, radio was his turning point. Now, what do I mean by that is that if you have ever watched an Alan Ladd film, which I really hope you have, if you're watching this video, it would make a lot of sense, you probably have noticed his deep, super beautiful, deep baritone voice. And I'm not teasing here. He had a very nice, deep voice. And years before he even became famous as an actor for the part of Philip Raven in This Gun for Hire, he had tried for quite a few years, ever since the mid-30s, to become an actor, quite unsuccessfully. He had been testing for studios, and he was always rejected. He was deemed too short, too blonde, maybe too handsome, who knows. But he was quite unsuccessful initially in his pursuit of being a professional actor. And what he did is that he instead tried the radio. So initially he was signed for the Los Angeles radio station KFWB. So from 1936 till 1939 he was an actor at that station, and while he was there he played 2 parts in a radio episode. He was both the father, I believe, and the son. And at that particular time, as destined would have it, there was Sue Carroll listening in, who was a former silent movie actress turned to agent, and she was so captivated by the voice she was listening that she phoned the radio station and asked to meet the actor who was doing the radio plays, and she was surprised to know that he was doing all the voices, and she met him, obviously, and she saw what he looked like, and she decided to sign him on the spot. Well, to be honest, I don't know if it was on the spot, but I really hope it was like that. In any case, she signed him and she became her agent, and that's what really propelled his career as an actor. She started getting him more regular parts in films until he was cast as Philip Raven in the noir film This Gun for Hire, and that part really again propelled him into stardom, and both him and Veronica Lake became a successful box office screen couple, especially of course for noir films. And he would on to have a quite successful contract with Paramount Studios, which is the studio he remained in for most of his career and where he was famous, where he made most of his film successes. So that all stemmed from his working on radio, being discovered by Sue Carroll, and being promoted into the first league of leading men in Hollywood. And as you can imagine, his contributions in radio were less and less frequent. Still, he made quite a remarkable radio noir series called Box 13. And in that radio series, noir series, he plays the part of a newspaperman in the aims of finding new stories, publishes an ad that reads, I will have to read that for you. Adventure wanted, will go anywhere, will do anything, write Box 13, Star Times. And there are quite a few episodes that you can find online, you can find on YouTube. And again, you can enjoy, if you really want to enjoy listening in to the voice and appreciating the voice of Alan Ladd, I will really recommend that you at least listen to one of these Box 13 episodes. They're quite nice, they're quite gritty. If you like also film noir, they're very entertaining. So I will leave a link in the description box if you want to check them out. I really recommend them, and hopefully you will enjoy them and see what I mean about his super duper fine voice. Number 2, he was one of the inspirations for the Indiana Jones character. If you're an Indiana Jones fan, you may not even know about this. So Alan Ladd was the inspiration not only for the look of Indiana Jones, but also for the attitude and the name. And you'll find out what I mean soon enough. And it all stems from a movie called China, that it was released in 1943. It was directed by John Farrow. It's a mighty gritty war drama that he played along with Loretta Young and William Bendix, and it takes place in China during the Japanese occupation before World War II and all the conflicts that would entail. And in this film, he plays quite ruthless traitor, like no morals, no code. And William Bendix is his sidekick, and he encounters Loretta Young, who's a teacher, and they go on to embark on this whole adventure, this whole set of dangers, till they can figure out a way out. And the film again is quite gritty. I don't think it's quite their best work, and it would be, I think, otherwise forgotten if it weren't for the fact of the look he has in that film. Again, the attitude and even the name, because in this film he's called David Jones, and he also has practically the exact same look that Indiana Jones is famous for. So the fedora, the leather jacket, and again the whole attitude, the whole Harrison Ford's also attitude as Indiana Jones, quite witty, quite sarcastic, quite sexy, I might add. And it kind of stems from this film, from China, and from Alan Ladd's performance and look. The reason why I say kind of, it's because it's known as well that the image, the look of Indiana Jones comes from a film that's called The Secret of the Incas, in which Charlton Heston pretty much has this attitude. He's searching for treasures there, I believe, and he has this whole look, which makes it quite the most direct connection with the inspiration for the Indiana Jones character. But I believe that prior to that, this 40s war movie was also a solid piece of inspiration for Spielberg to base his character on. If you also read in the webpage theraider.net, which goes into a lot of detail on Indiana Jones, they also quote this film, the China and Alan Ladd, as one of the inspirations. So the minute I watched this film and I saw the character and his performance, his looks, I pretty much thought of Indiana Jones, and I then double checked, Googled it, researched about it, and found out that there were other websites that would also link this film as one of the inspiration for the character. So it was really amazing to find out. If you see the pictures that I'm using here, you'll see quite the resemblance. So if you want to watch the film, I think especially the first half will give you the idea for the look, the character, the attitude, the name, and I believe that's pretty much all you need. Again, that's just a suggestion. If you love the film when you watch it, that's great. But that was just the excuse to share with you the connection between Alan Ladd and Indiana Jones. Number 3, he played the part of the Great Gatsby. Again, this might be a film that you never heard of. This might be a case where you didn't even know, as I didn't, that Alan Ladd had played the Great Gatsby. And this is a movie that's really, really forgotten, sadly. This goes on to say that about the whole range of things that we still don't know about classic movies and the people who made them. I think it's pretty nice to dive into those things and discover even more excuses to watch more films, to love them, and to learn from them. And this is one of those cases. It was released in 1949. This is a film that I really want to watch and see what's my view on it. It's not, to be honest, a novel or a character that I'm particularly drawn to, that I particularly enjoy, but I would really much like to see his performance. And the reason that I'm mentioning this as a fact is because playing the part of the Great Gatsby for Alan Ladd was a very personal choice that I found out about too. He pretty much went back and forth with the Paramount Studios for them to let him be a part of this film. They were reluctant to let him go or to have him appear in a film that was too far from the image that the public had forged of him. And he had to insist quite a lot, from my understanding, to be able to play the part in this movie. And I watched a few years ago again a documentary that you can also find on YouTube about Alan Ladd called The True Quiet Man, that I will also link down below. And through this documentary is where I found out about the part of the Great Gatsby. And the reason why it's important for Alan Ladd is mentioned by his son, by David Ladd. And he goes on to explain that for some reason his father was very much drawn to that character. He felt connected, he identified himself with the character, so much so that he felt compelled to play him in a movie. And in the end, for Alan Ladd, it was one of his favorite films, I believe tied in with Shane. So those are pretty solid reasons to give Alan Ladd's Great Gatsby a try. Right, so number 4, we're now covering one of his most favorite roles of all time, Shane. And why are we discussing here is that the part of Shane was not intended for Alan Ladd. I'm not sure if you knew about this or not. If you're Western fans, if you're Shane's fans, I hope you are. I really hope you are. But the story is that Alan Ladd was not the first choice for the part of Shane. When this movie was in development and George Stevens, the director, was working with the screenwriter on the script, he had Montgomery Clift, of all people, in mind. And not only that, he thought he had the idea to cast William Holden and Katharine Hepburn as the Starretts, the couple, the married couple that Shane becomes friends with. So as much as I also love and admire William Holden, Montgomery Clift, and Katharine Hepburn, I cannot imagine them playing all the parts in Shane. I cannot even begin to picture them as the Starretts and as Shane. And I'm pretty glad the whole thing turned out differently, because I really, really admire the work, obviously, of Alan Ladd, but also of Dan Heflin. He is fantastic. He's one of the character actors, one of my favorite character actors, and also Jean Arthur is amazing. So I'm pretty glad that that the initial thought didn't go through. And in the end, even though for George Stevens, Alan Ladd was not the first choice, he had to agree to having Ladd because he was the head actor in the Paramount Studios, the studio that produced Shane, so they weren't available. So he had to agree, George Stevens had to agree on casting Alan Ladd because Alan Ladd was the head actor of Paramount Studios. And at the beginning, I believe he wasn't that convinced that that would be a good choice. But by the end, he was very much impressed with Alan Ladd's work. And so much so that when he was working on another of his classics on Giant, he offered initially, again, the part of Jet Rink to Alan Ladd. But in this instance, it was Ladd who refused because he felt he was too old for the part, and he cast, obviously, James Dean instead. It was his time to shine, and he did. And so much for George Stevens' initial casting ideas. But in the end, they all turned out pretty great, so they were destined. We made it to number 5. We made it to the last. And this is also another connection with a big franchise, a big saga that we all love, that I love too. And it's the fact that his son gave the green light for Star Wars. And again, this might be something that you're not familiar with, but Alan Ladd's son, Alan Ladd Jr., was one of the most prominent producers in Hollywood from the 70s, 80s, 90s, for quite a few decades, you might say. And he started off as an agent initially, and he worked with Robert Redford and Judy Garland for a while, of all people. Then he went on to become a producer. First, an independent producer. He started off in London, and then he moved back to the US and landed a big job as the head of the 20th Century Fox. And that was the time when George Lucas was searching for a studio who would produce his first Star Wars film, quite unsuccessfully, as you probably all know. That he tried several studios. He tried Universal. He pitched the idea to also United Artists with no success. And he then tried the 20th Century Fox, and Alan Ladd Jr. had watched American Graffiti and had been quite impressed by his work. So, for some reason, luckily, he decided to produce the film. He gave the green light to Star Wars. So isn't that amazing or what? So again, to even think that without Alan Ladd, we wouldn't have Star Wars films is pretty incredible. Am I exaggerating? By all means. Am I wrong? Nope. No way. These were all the 5 different things that you probably didn't know about Alan Ladd. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something, and if not, that you are willing and eager to watch another Alan Ladd movie, and even hear one of his radio series episodes. And let me know in the comments down below which fact or which thing surprised you the most, which one you enjoyed the most. And give this video a thumbs up. As always, subscribe if you liked it. I really appreciate all the support. That really keeps me going. And also, if there's another actor or actress or even director, anyone related to classic films and all Hollywood that you would like me to go over and find also some lesser known facts like I do in this video and the one I did on Errol Flynn, please leave all your suggestions down below. Will be good to have more inspiration, and I'm really happy to dive into more information on classic films. This is a subject, as you can tell, that I absolutely love. Really happy to share. Again, I really hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you again in my next video.